Hi.
Hi. Is it ready yet?
Yeah, sure it's ready, just as you requested, right? There. As you said, I've made the armor half thickness all round.
Excellent.
I don't want to tell you your business or anything, but you won't get much protection from it now.
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay, it's your funeral. Believe me, it will be if anybody uses armor-piercing bullets on you.
Hey, let me worry about getting blown away by some asshole out there. If I can get top speed out of this suit, I'll be too fast for anyone to get a shot off at me.
Oh. Well, you know, if your chief finds out, you'll be in trouble. This is completely against all regulations.
Just you forget about the regulations. Remember, I paid you cash in hand for that job, so just think about how you'll spend it.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's like you said, if I die, it's my funeral. What's that?
Huh? You mean that one? That's Dunan's new Googis she trashed her landmate. She's pretty hard on landmates, so I persuaded her to buy this Googis model. It's much more expensive, of course, but it's a lot tougher and better made. But then again, I bet she wrecks it within a week.
I see. She'll be a strong opponent.
Don't you mean rival?
Oh, sure I do.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech Low Life podcast, where the first 20 minutes are not going to be about whatever's advertised in the title. With your hosts, Eric and Josh. My name's Eric.
My name is Josh.
I just wanted to get that out of the way because I've been reading a lot of comments where people are complaining about it. And it's just not going to change.
They seem confused that we have a set structure that we go with all the time. I don't exactly understand why these people are coming back and thinking, oh, maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week they'll skip all that. Anyway, we got a special not announcement. We got a special guest this week, and I don't want to just completely ignore that fact. So we would like to welcome to the show for the first time Isabelle Wolf.
Hello, good to meet you. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Issy or Isabelle. I shitposted my way onto the High Tech Low Life podcast, and I am here to ruin any alpha male credibility that these two chuckle fucks have built up over the course of the last couple of years by feminizing the fuck out of everybody listening.
Oh no, our alpha male credibility.
Yeah, I have we ever... I don't think we've been aiming for that, and we've certainly never claimed it.
I'm going to miss it.
Yeah. Couple of fucking beta cucks over here.
No, yeah, I believe you first approached me offering, what was it, feminization, or I can't remember the terminology, but...
Yeah, so that was a couple weeks ago. I cannot remember the episode off the top of my head. It's been a long couple of weeks, but you had said something about just like male masculine credibility during your dystopia talk.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe the comment was, we've never had a woman on this show. And so I just kind of got on the Bluesky and was like, hey, here's my application to add some femme energy to your alpha ass podcast. And about 2 hours later, sending in a staff meeting at work, I got a message from Eric saying, we would love to have you as a guest. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, called that bluff.
Yeah. I'm remembering this now. In the episode, we made some... I don't remember what we were talking about, but we made some comment about, Robin is as feminine as we've gotten.
Yeah, we have them, boy.
By the way, shout out to Robin. I absolutely love them.
Oh,
yeah,
Robin's great.
And we've got others scheduled. We'll have more feminine energy on this podcast, I promise. It's a goal we're striving to achieve. And today have. So let's get into it. This week we're talking about Appleseed, the original, well, not original, because it was a manga first, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And the first movie that came out was in 1988, I believe.
Uh-huh.
If you can really call it a movie, it's like an hour-long video.
Yeah, it's more of...
I did research on this. We can get into it.
Oh, cool. They call them OVAs? I keep seeing that term.
OVA, original video animation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Definitely one of the more cyberpunk things we've covered in the last couple of weeks. So hopefully that quenches some thirsts.
Although the robots are about the same size as the show last week.
True. We won't speak of last week's episode. First of all, we got to talk about our dystopia we're living in. Everybody, the mood drops.
It gets harder and harder to live on this plane every day.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Especially on this chunk of floating rock. Just what the fuck?
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the big news? I personally know a couple of 3 people who have been let go in the past week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, had shockingly a number of serious cuts, and I know some people who work at Haskell, the relatively local, historically Indian or historically Native university, and they're gone.
Oh, I'm sure that's saving so many trillions of dollars for the government. I'm sure they're spending a lot of money on Indian affairs.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't believe the savings the couple of people that I know, are incurring now that they're gone. I mean, they were making all of I don't know, $14 an hour. So,
well, those pennies add up after a while. That's what those rich bastards tell you, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's the rich bastards who are firing these $14 an hour workers. It's a bad time.
It's really interesting how, I don't know, I know I've said this on the podcast before. I said it in conversation many times, including 3 days ago. I always knew in my mind and my heart that things were gonna, go real fucking bad in my lifetime. I mean, part of that was just, kind of the wishful thinking of everybody thinks that they're gonna be the last generation.
Mm-hmm.
But I, for decades, thought, no, this is going to be this is going to be a plan. So, it's going to be somebody smart and evil making moves, as opposed to just this, just horrible, just stumbling into stupidity over and over again.
Just a clown show?
Yeah, I really, for decades, I thought, yeah, I mean, shit's going to go bad. All the tools are there for it, right?
Yeah.
But I figured it'd be, fucking, I don't know, Emperor Palpatine, effectively, as opposed to, I don't know, Salacious Crumb with a nuke. Or, and they're really doing that hardcore. I mean, if you have paid any attention to what the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, the drunk and sexual assaulter, has been saying on his tours about Europe, I mean, this guy is doing nothing but making unforced errors. And even the military, I've seen a number of reports of him getting booed on bases, which is crazy times, because he's a moron. He doesn't know anything about, I mean, he served in the army, which does not necessarily make you
Secretary of Defense
conversant in the armed forces.
Well, also he jumped ahead of a lot of people who probably deserved the job and were hoping to get the job at one point.
Yeah.
Don't disagree. What do you think what's the over under on a nuke?
Oh shit.
I should probably stop.
Well, based on the budget cuts that are coming down, over under on a intentional nuke.
Like intentional or accidental, because a lot of the oversight is just disappearing.
Yeah,
the old accidental nuke.
Intentional, I don't think they're super high. Accidental, fuck, your guess is as good as mine. Flip a coin? I mean,
Let's say accidental has got there. It's going to get to like a 50-50. Like there's just going to be some fucking moron in there that's going to be like, I don't know, dusting a console with no oversight and just accidentally push the big red button, and then we're just all fucked.
Yeah.
Somebody
what was that Genesis video from back in the 80s or
with all the claymation.
Land of Confusion.
That was a Land of Confusion video, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Or Ronnie's reaching for the OJ button. I can't remember what it was. It was funny.
He's reaching for a glass of water, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody is going to just accidentally figure out that here's something that was secret for decades and came out, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago. Apparently in all the Minutemen missile silos, the arming code was, even though they had, I think it was a 4-digit code on like basically a telephone touchpad. You had to enter this to even start the missile like startup sequence. All of them were set to 111 or 1111.
That's the easiest to remember.
It is.
That just goes back to that old Spaceballs joke. Just this is the kind of combination an idiot puts on his luggage. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
On the nukes. But nukes aside, I also wanted to talk about the confirmation of RFK Jr., which we've known is coming.
Oh God!
But is gonna probably kill more people than a nuke when you get down to it.
Comparable. Direct and indirect causes, sure.
I just want to know with RFK, like, what's the incubation period for the mind flare that is clearly growing in his brain?
It needs to finish.
It just needs to just like reach its final form so that we know, we need to eliminate this thing. Like, why?
I mean, it's not far. Like, let's be honest. I don't know if you played Baldur's Gate 3, but if you fully embrace the mind flare's gifts, spoiler alert, you start changing physically. And let's just say RFK Jr. is about 2/3 of the way there.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for his jaw to split open on live TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ran out of children's coffins in Samoa.
That's important to remember.
Yeah. And he's talking about how, people on like say SSRIs, etc.
Oh, that's the main thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we're just gonna ship them off to a fun camp in the woods where they can grow drugs. Which I'm 100% certain we covered a movie about this, right?
We did. I believe that movie is called A Scanner Darkly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the plot of A Scanner Darkly.
Yeah,
it's not like a wink and a nod to the movie. It is
It's
the plot of it.
Plot. Like,
yeah.
So when you talk about dystopias coming true,
we should have given that one more prescience. Like if we were
well, now I got to look. What did we give?
Yeah, how did we rate that? I'm guessing it was pretty high, but today it feels like 10 out of 10.
Yeah, we gave it 8, which I would definitely give it a little higher.
Yeah, because that's a patently insane plan on the face of it. But oh well, here we are.
Took a brainworm, a guy with a brainworm, to figure it all out for us.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give like some. I'm trying not to make this completely all just be horrific news every week. I wanted to do some upbeat stuff. I don't really have any though. I didn't plan it.
I mean, it's dystopia talk. If it's upbeat, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just shit just keeps getting worse and worse week to week. Like now they're talking about annexing Gaza so that the president's son-in-law can build
hotels,
beachside property there, and me and my friends are getting legislated out of existence. Like it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot to be like happy about.
Yeah,
there really isn't.
It's
the problem is that if we don't look for something and some reason, we can really fall into despair, and then that's only going to guarantee things get worse.
Okay, here. I've actually got something. I've got a really good friend through archaeology who has been going through their own assessment of their gender over the past 2 years, and about, I think it was just at a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, had the first appointment with the doctor that they'd gotten about starting tea dosing, and it went really well. And this is a person who is in the farthest reaches of fucking West Texas in 2025 when Trump is the goddamn president, but still they are able to keep enough hope in their hearts that, well, I'm doing it. I mean,
I absolutely love that for them.
Yeah,
so fucking much.
I said, well, you maybe could have picked a better time, but I guess everybody's got their own schedule to work on.
Look, it's just a thing.
You got to do it. So
I came out in 2022, so almost 3 years ago, right before the pendulum started swinging back around. Yeah, and it's not one of those deals where you'll ever be able to pick a good time for. So
that's totally true.
It literally came down to hey, I was having a conversation with my therapist and basically told her if I don't do this, I'm just going to swallow a fucking bullet and call it a day. So even with all the bullshit, me personally, I wouldn't go back for fucking anything. And so and honestly, with shit getting as horrible as it is for the LGBTQ community, now really is the time for people to start coming out and being no, I'm here, fuck you.
I think that's very true. Yeah.
Because if you go back in the closet and you deny these things constantly, then one, you're only doing yourself a disservice. You're just gonna fuck yourself up worse. And two, you're letting those fuckers win, and they don't deserve the W for anything. And just fuck that.
Yeah, and you're wasting years of your life.
Exactly.
Waiting for something that might never get... I mean, we hope it gets better, but there's no guarantee at this point. It's so infuriating to see them taking the T off of all of the government manuals.
Oh, shit. No, that's...
Just pretending it's not a thing. And
And that was actually something I was reading about just this morning, is they've taken the TQIA plus off of the fucking Stonewall information on the
Stonewall
on
all
the
fucking places.
And Stonewall, that's where the shit started. The gay liberation movement was really started in the Stonewall riots in 1969, when a whole bunch of black trans women and drag queens and other queers came out of this fucking bar throwing rocks at cops. We're not going to take this shit anymore. You're not going to erase that part of history. Fuck you, man.
It's a great American story that people should be proud of, that it happened. And they're erasing it.
They're trying to. They're trying very hard to, but there are a lot of screaming voices out there, myself included, who are no, you're not going to erase this shit.
And the facts of Stonewall that makes it incredibly ridiculous when you consider that, if there is if you were to nail it down to a single person, the single most known person involved with the Stonewall riots is a black trans woman named Marsha
P. Johnson.
P. Johnson. Okay, I could not remember. That is the face of Stonewall, for God's sake.
Right. Yep.
At any rate, I think it's true, with the current regime trying to erase transgender people, standing up and saying, hey, I'm here, and giving them two big middle fingers is important. And it also puts things in perspective as a white cis guy, that man, people are out here going through the hardest thing, shit that's so hard in the best of times, and people are still doing it in these awful times. So yeah.
Well, we do, it is our burden.
It's tough.
It is really tough being a cis white guy out here.
We'll get to it. We're trying to reclaim some of that alpha male cred.
Yeah.
No, you've already lost it. Fuck you. I'm still here.
Do we want to move out from these dark topics into something a little more fun? Has anybody watched anything that they want to recommend for our viewers?
I got something, as per usual.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah. Yellow Jackets is back.
I like that show.
I still have not started that show.
The first season is amazing. Second season is, not quite as good. I think a lot of drama programs end up that way. But and the third season has started very strong the other day. Over the course of the week, I rewatched seasons 1 and 2. God, that's a fun show with a fucking amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, because it takes place in 2 times, right?
Yeah, one of them is 1996 with a bunch of angsty girls. So there's like PJ Harvey and fucking Breeders and nonstop bangers. Third season has started pretty strong and excited that that's back.
Okay. Izzy, have you been watching or listening to anything you want to chat out? I was actually closely following on TikTok, your countdown of the best songs of 24.
The 2024 album countdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I actually became a fan of Couch Slut as a result of it.
I'm fucking
quite
excellent.
Into them.
Yeah, no, Couch Slut is fucking great. I highly recommend, especially their new album. We Could Do It Tonight. It's the storytelling on that record is just fucking fantastic. I haven't had just over the course of the last few weeks. I've actually been moving. I just moved into this new house, so I haven't had much opportunity to watch a whole bunch of shit. But as far as I do have a couple recommendos. I did recently get to go to Pensacola to see a band called Vision Video. If you're not familiar, it's like Goth Dad from TikTok. His band, they are absolutely fucking fantastic. They have a new record out called Modern Horror. It puts the punk in post-punk, and I cannot recommend that album enough. I didn't really get a chance to listen to it much when it came out, so it didn't end up on my countdown list, but it absolutely would have if I actually had. But now most of the recommendos I have, they're all over my TikTok, and then a couple of I'll post about stuff I've been listening to on Bluesky.
Yeah, not being really on TikTok. This is literally the first I have ever heard the 2 syllables put together. I assume it's one word. Couch Slut.
It's 2 words.
Okay. And I am fucking intrigued. That is an amazing band name.
It is they're this really great noise rock, heavy metal kind of thing. The chick that sings for them just spits concrete the entire record, and she just has this way with words and storytelling that is wild.
All right. Well,
yeah, I believe I think you compared them to Chat Pile, which is what sucked me in. And it's very good. I mean, that's the type of shit I've really been into recently. Just the really chaotic, noisy, heavy slop metal. I don't know what else to call it.
Power slop with an edge?
There's not really an edge, though.
Oh, okay.
It's not really power either. It's just slop.
Okay.
It's just noisy shit.
Since we've got music going on, promote your band.
Oh yeah, so I play bass for a goth band out of Gulfport, Mississippi called Thorn in My Side. It's all one word. You can find me shitposting about it on Bluesky. I run our Facebook page. We've only got a couple of songs out right now. You can find all of those on whoisthorninmyside.bandcamp.com. It's very... we are not professional musicians. We record all of this stuff in my guitar player's home office, so it is very, very much a bedroom project. But we are very proud of what we've been doing with it. We actually just recruited a second synth player, so we're going to have a lot more synths and weird shit going forward. We're booking around the area for the year. Our next show is March 7th, so if you're in the Mississippi Gulf Coast area. We're going to be playing in Ocean Springs. If you just follow our Facebook page or any of my socials, which I'll plug later on towards the end of the episode, you'll get all the information for that there. And yeah, that's just a thing. just for frame of reference, our biggest influences are Concrete Blonde, Sisters of Mercy, and Gary Newman. So,
okay,
Just
I am
woke Josh up.
I am currently deeply fucking broke, but having heard like the samples previously on your Bandcamp, I am 1,000% going to buy everything you put out, if only because you combined Concrete Blonde, Sisters of Mercy. I mean, Gary Newman's great, but the Concrete Blonde and Sisters of Mercy combo is solid.
yeah. So if you want to just how deeply influenced we are by both of those bands, whenever we had just started practicing, we had not discussed any kind of like cover song. What we're like, because anytime bands get together, the first thing they do is just like play a couple of covers to see how well everybody clicks. And we hadn't even discussed what we were going to cover. And I just started playing the bass line for Bloodletting. And
Nice.
that was literally the first song that our singer and guitar player had talked about doing, because they were big fans. Like, holy shit, are you playing Bloodletting? I was like, fuck yeah. So that was how that started. And then as far as Sisters of Mercy, I literally named myself from the song 1959. So just about any kind of post-punk dark wave music I might be involved in is going to have a kind of Sisters of Mercy influence to it, because I just fucking love their entire catalog.
They are a fucking great band that is under-recognized these days. I don't want to say underrated, because pretty much everybody who has heard Sisters of Mercy is like, yeah, that's my shit. But yeah, they are very underheard for the past, I don't know, 30 years. Ugh.
Oh, totally agreed. And they're one of those that like, all the baby bats still go to like Bauhaus or Susie Sue as like, oh, that's like the pinnacle of goth. And I'm like, well, those are great bands. They're absolutely great. I will never deny Peter Murphy's influence on anything, but Andrew Eldridge is the GOAT, and that is that's a hill I'm going to die on.
Dude has an incredible fucking voice, and his phrasing is always something special in those songs.
For sure.
Speaking of Peter Murphy, though, I think he put out a song this week with Trent Reznor.
Oh, I apparently missed that.
Yeah, that one was off my radar.
I think it was just this last week. It's a single syllable word, and I can't recall it offhand.
Skin. Cat.
It's like,
check.
I can't remember.
Apple.
Please stop naming single syllable words. We'll be here all day. I want to do one quick recommendo. It's for a podcast. If you've ever heard of the podcast called 16th Minute with Jamie Loftus, it's a pretty good show where they talk about internet memes, basically, and then give them one more minute while they really, I don't know, get into the meme and then kind of talk about the society around it. I don't know how to explain it. She always goes deeper than just talking about the meme. It's always more about what was happening at the time and why the meme might have happened. Anyway, the most recent one was about the back rooms, which is, if you're not familiar, it's this picture that kind of popped up in 22 or something of just like an empty room that spawned a whole bunch of lore and a whole bunch of stories and almost a whole genre of horror in video games.
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
Yeah.
That's not something that rings a bell for me, but in terms of meme.
Well, yeah, you're not really much on the creepypasta part of the internet, I don't think.
Yeah.
My wife is, and that's probably how I was initially introduced to it. But anyway, the story, by the end of the podcast, it actually becomes kind of an almost wholesome story for what's a spooky horror that for a lot of people can get pretty philosophically terrifying when you talk about liminal spaces and horror in that regard. So anyway, I recommend it. I just listened to it this morning, and that's really all I've got. So I wanted to give something.
I have listened to a couple of the episodes of that podcast, and I had totally forgotten, but a while ago, I think maybe you mentioned possibly on the Discord or something that she was going to be doing the Haktua girl.
Oh, she did the
so
Haktua.
I need to catch up on that.
It was good too. Learned a lot about crypto and how to rip people off. If you're into that. All right. Anybody got anything else? So we move on.
No,
we can move on.
I think we're good to go.
Okay. Yeah. Josh, sometimes you have a half dozen things in your back pocket. I don't want to step on you. So
I do. Okay, let me scan real quick. Nope, good.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about Appleseed then.
Done. Jammin' fucking theme song.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
I was into the soundtrack of Appleseed. Now, I've seen a lot of people in reviews that hated it and thought it didn't fit the theme. Maybe that's true, but whatever. I was into like the kind of smooth jazz thing they had going.
Yeah, I think I put in my notes because the score really stood out to me as well. And I think I put in my notes like, this is some PlayStation 1 RPG sounding shit, and I love it.
Yeah, it is. It is exactly the sound of a PlayStation 1 RPG or all early to mid 1990s anime. I mean,
yeah,
it's the perfect distillation of that genre, like right up until the second Ghost in the Shell comes out.
Ghost in the Shell changed the game a little bit.
It really did.
Just a little.
So, we got this movie. It's not a movie, though. It's an OVA.
All
right. So, an OVA is original video animation, which is a term that Japanese video companies came up with when they learned direct-to-video was viewed as insulting and lesser than in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, okay, so through... The VCR becomes really popular in Japan in, like, earlier than the US, like, early to mid-'80s, where in the US it wasn't until, like, I don't know, mid to late 80s that it got really popular. So... And the bubble was happening. If anybody's familiar, the bubble was a huge deal. Everything in Japan was worth a lot of fucking money just because of the way financial markets work and the way technology worked at the time. All the, all the incredibly valuable computer and electronics hardware companies were Japanese. So... they were just effectively printing fucking money, and it bled through Japanese society just all over the place.
I know that from Pachinko.
Yeah, Pachinko has a good illustration of the bubble.
One of its main storylines is right in the middle of the bubble.
Yeah, similar. That's why Japanese car companies were able to make just like these absurdly like ridiculous fucking cars. And lose money on every one of them, but still be doing fine, like the Mazda RX-7s and stuff like that, and the Toyota Supras. So the bubble's huge. Everybody in Japan has piles of fucking money, and the producers of manga or I don't know, sort of graphic novels, comic books equivalent. Every company was like, hey, everybody's got a bunch of money. What if we hire a bunch of people to draw these and put them in sequence very fast and throw our comic books onto video cassette, basically? And that is the OVA market. The market was flooded with them for like 10 years. Just anything that got more than about 2 or 3 appearances in, a big manga magazine had an OVA come out.
Mm-hmm. This is a good history lesson, Josh.
I mean, there's still OVAs that come out to this day that are a little better quality than some of the ones that came out back then.
Yes. Apparently, the terminology of art changed in, 2004 to ODA, original DVD animation, and then now it's ONA, original net animation.
Wow.
Because they're as good with names as we are.
Yeah, I was going to say. Really putting a lot of thought.
Now, the thing that makes Appleseed interesting in terms of the background I've just given you is that Appleseed was not a serialized manga like nearly all of them are. The creator, Masamune Shirow, who also did Ghost in the Shell, and before Appleseed, did Black Magic M66.
Which we'll probably cover at some point too, right?
Yeah, we have to. I was reminded of its existence this week.
Yeah.
And was like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to have to watch that. He did, like, maybe it was as Black Magic M66 was still being serialized. He put together like an entire volume of Appleseed and just basically put out a graphic novel out of fucking nowhere, which is deeply weird for the manga market. Because nearly all the manga that, you see and exists even to this day is serialized in these big glossy magazines, and effectively the format is kind of like heavy metal, if the audience is familiar with that, where it's just a big magazine with a bunch of different comics in each issue. And you might get a continuation of, something from 2 or 3 issues ago, or it might just be something totally new. That's how most manga exists in the world at first.
And that kind of carried on for a while too. Like I remember in the early 2000s, we had a lot of that in kind of the nerd circles I was running in, and with publications like Shonen Jump, for example, was a big one over here. So they published like your Shaman Kings and your Pokemon, stuff like that. Actually, I think Pokemon was a different company. Don't quote me on that. But Shaman King was the one that really stood out because that was the one that me and my friends followed. But like you would have 1 or 2 chapters of that, and then there would be another property that they had that would have like 1 or 2 chapters in the same magazine. And if you wanted to continue the story, you had to wait like 2 to 3 months at a time for the next issue to come out.
Wow, that's strange. Because I wasn't into manga at all, but I was into heavy metal, and I knew I got little chunks of a lot of different stories because I could never get a subscription to it. I could only buy it occasionally.
Yeah.
And never got to finish a story as a result.
Yeah. Pretty much all of the manga that we are even vaguely familiar with was published that way. Vampire Hunter D came out in like, I don't know what, 10-page chunks over the course of however many years, right beside fucking Giant Robo and, I don't know, fucking teen volleyball manga and cartoons.
Now you can get all of these just in their own separate volumes at pretty much any bookstore.
That explains a lot. Okay. But so, Appleseed wasn't that way. Appleseed was its own separate thing.
Yeah. Appleseed was the creator going like, I don't think this is going to make sense in, I don't know what the standard is, but like 10-page chunks. So I'm just going to draw the whole fucking thing and then get it published. And it worked, I guess. There were a total of 4 volumes produced between 1985 and 1989, with a 5th partially completed, but I don't know, abandoned, something like that. Okay, so let me set up why I know this shit.
All right, because on all our anime episodes, you complain about not knowing anything about anime, and you seem to have a lot of information this time.
Yes. I was, I watched this earlier in the week, and then I went back and rewatched it. I think it was the night before last to go through and take notes. And I felt bad because compared to a lot of the stuff that we have watched, there is comparatively little information on the 1988 OVA of Appleseed, just in terms of production, development, I don't know, trivia, quotes for that matter.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, now would be a perfect time for me to figure out what the fuck some of these terms mean. Like, I knew OVA meant, original video animation, but I didn't know kind of the realities of why that existed as opposed to direct to video. So I spent part of last night doing a bunch of research on this stuff.
Extra work.
Yes, because again, I felt bad that there simply wasn't that much directly about the property at hand.
But there's plenty on like like the 2004 spinoff, like that.
Mhm.
That's kind of the one that everybody seems to know, especially these days. But yeah, the 1988 one didn't have as much, because I also tried to go back and do some like extra research and like gather quotes and shit, and I was like, I kept coming up on the 2004 one. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, like.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they have the exact same fucking title.
Yeah.
And that, like, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting bit of background that although this OVA looms fairly large in my mind, I think I'm relatively unique in that, because it was one of, I don't know, a handful of animes that just happened to have been available at my local video store.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got totally overshadowed by the follow-up stuff. And also, got completely overshadowed by Ghost in the Shell, 5 years later, 6 years later, by the same creator. So,
Yeah, it almost feels like a prototype to Ghost in the Shell in some ways. I will say, on the whole, the OVA of Appleseed there's not a lot there. I mean, it's a fun little hour-long show, but, it's not, it's just not much of a story that it's being told. But it does make someone like me interested in watching and consuming all the other stuff in the Appleseed universe.
I was going to say, like, that was kind of an issue that I had with this particular movie. Was like, it was fun. Like, it was a lot of fun to watch, but like, as far as the story went, it's not the most coherent. So
No.
I would like it takes a lot of it jumps around a lot, and so as I'm watching it, I'm trying to I'm going back and forth and rewinding, trying to figure out like, who the fuck is this character? When did they introduce them? Like, if you you have to be like locked into it the entire time to really get the full picture of what's going on, without having to go through and like do what I did and just rewind and like search external media. Like, okay, how the fuck did they get to this conclusion? How did they get this here? It was just such a bizarre experience watching. Cause like I said, it's fun, but it's work.
Yeah. It would be super easy to watch it without doing any of that work. Cause you're like, look, big robot.
That's what I did.
Guys shooting guns. And that's fine. That's a totally valid way to watch a movie, as we learned with the responses to our, show last week. People are like, big
People
robot
like Real
punch.
Steel. Yeah. We did not care for it. Lots of people do. So
Big robot punch, Hugh Jackman t-shirt.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, yeah, maybe.
Maybe you're happier.
Maybe
going
we're
through
out of
life
line.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe I just was thinking too much about it, because I was seriously trying to dissect what was going on, because I like critically analyzing everything I watch. So I was like,
Yeah.
if I wanted to turn my brain off, I would just, and this is something I actually probably recommend people do just for fun, because it seemed like a cool thing to do. I think it would sync up pretty well. Turn the sound off on the 1988 Appleseed and put on any new metal album from like 2004, and just go ham with it. Like, I have a feeling like there should be like a Godsmack anime music video for this somewhere.
Are you familiar at all with the old anime music videos from the early days of the internet, the early days of YouTube, I guess?
That was how I discovered so much music.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so much anime for me. Yeah. They were
Like, that was how I found Ninja Scroll, was like someone had put like an Evanescence thing over some Ninja Scroll footage, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I need to go find and watch it.
They were so great, and it's weird that it was popular. Like, anime was not that popular, and I don't know.
That was one of those things that burned bright for about 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I would say like 4 to 5. And
Yeah, you might be right.
And like, I really don't think that the show Naruto would be as popular today as as popular as it would have been without the anime music video market.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, so I think one of the big things about this OVA that Izzy's getting at is that it kind of doesn't make sense, and I assume part of that is that this is parts of at least the first couple of volumes of the manga. Because this movie fucking rules. On the other hand, it doesn't give you any answers, and it only barely even hints at the questions you're supposed, like, that I think you're supposed to be asking. Where, okay, we've got this kind of adventure story of, oh, there's this terrorist, these two cops need to hunt him down. Whatever, there's this giant fucking, like, 6-legged mech tank that's blowing shit up.
We'll get into that later. I have thoughts on that thing.
Sweet. But on the other hand, this movie is taking serious amounts of time to say, hey, what's a utopia? Is it a utopia if you can't escape it?
It goes into like, what's a utopia and what does it mean to be human in almost like a Blade Runner kind of way without actually getting into it.
Yeah. It just kind of leaves it dangling.
Yeah, it throws that shit out there, and like some of it is left like pointedly unaddressed.
Like there is like one scene, and I put it in my notes, and I had to like rewind to figure out what the fuck it was, where they're like growing babies in a lab, and at first I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then like,
you're right,
I had to go back and like, oh, that's where the biodroid thing starts, because they're not actually human born, they're like test tube babies, and then they just kind of show you this thing, but they just don't elaborate on it at all.
Nope, it's like not even 5 seconds. Not even 5 seconds of footage in like a little montage.
That's interesting, because when I watched it, I'm like, this is just cyberpunk shit, and then moved on. But now that you bring it up, I'm like, you're right. There were like babies in test tubes that I didn't even give a second thought to. I should.
It was like, what kind of Death Stranding bullshit is this? Like, what are these things?
Yeah, it's a really, like, I can totally see why I was into this in 1995 or whatever when I got the fucking video cassette. And I can totally see why this thing did not fucking jump off the shelves like Ghost in the Shell or literally any other anime that tells a like semi-complete story.
I know we keep putting it off, but I am excited to get to Akira someday and compare it into all these other ones.
All right, so Appleseed. We start in what seems to be a very nice apartment. There is a girl talking to a bird. It's like a canary or something. I don't know. A little chirpy bird. And she is the girl is obviously in distress, and basically it boils down to, I really wish I could be free like you, and then jumps out the window.
Starting it off strong.
So that's our inciting incident.
There is
trigger warning.
There is absolutely no way that suicide will come back later in any way, shape, or form.
Not at all. And then her husband comes in. It's a guy we'll eventually know is named
very
Karen.
Handsome.
Yeah, very handsome.
Bring that up a lot.
Yeah.
Just looks like a random anime guy to me, but
I was going to say generic anime guy number 157.2. Like, okay.
I really do think that is one of the, I don't know, I guess if I were to nail down flaws with this movie, is that I think this movie was done pretty fucking cheap and quick.
The backgrounds are beautiful, but the animation itself is pretty crap.
And the voice acting, I'm just going to put this out there, is rough.
Yeah.
I actually heard a couple of different, when I was watching this, okay, there are 2 separate English voice tracks. There are also at least 2 separate subtitle tracks that I watched. Because there are a couple of points where I I had the subtitles on and I was watching the English dub, and the plot diverges a bit.
Really?
Not seriously, but like stuff gets laid in way earlier in one version of the movie.
Yeah, because I only watched the English dub on Tubi.
I watched it on what was it? Shit, Peacock.
Oh, I watched it on fucking Prime for my notes run, and then I had a shockingly a bootleg.
You didn't watch your original VHS.
I did not go over to the house and dig through a bunch of boxes to find it, and then go buy a VCR.
Fucking, I thought you were dedicated to this podcast.
There's dedicated enough to go out and buy a Blu-ray player to watch Giant Mnemonic in black and white, and then there's, I don't even, like eBay? I assume there has to be at least one company making VCRs these days, right?
I mean, I think
Surely.
just about any one of those like bottom of the barrel tech aisles at just about any thrift store would have a working
That's
VCR
it.
somewhere.
That's the move.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean the thrift stores, at least in this area, are just like stupid with VCRs.
You just gotta shake the cockroach carcasses out of it, and you'll be good to go.
I bet if I went to any of the thrift stores within like 20 blocks of my house, I could find a TV VCR combo for $5. It just didn't occur to me. And I didn't want to watch it on a 13-inch TV.
Fair.
If you're not watching a VHS tape on like an actual tube TV, it just looks fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I made that mistake like 10 years ago. I had a combination VCR DVD player, and I put a VHS tape in it, and I put it on a like 40-inch flat screen, and it was just miserable. The technology was not made for it.
It's like playing Duck Hunt on an LCD. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
I honestly do not remember the last time that I had a VCR hooked up. Like I don't think I ever did when we were roommates here in Kansas City. Eric?
No.
Do you? Okay.
No, I haven't had a VCR since I was a kid.
Yeah, I think there was definitely one in your like garage house. Because I remember, yes, I 100%.
We don't need to get into the story.
Yeah, I 100% remember renting VHSs before we pooled our money and bought our PS2.
Yeah, that's true.
At that house. So
I was co-owned. I was a
Yes.
co-op PS2.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I don't even remember the last time I owned a VCR, which doesn't stop me from having like a box and a half of VHSs in my basement. Okay. So yeah, the art isn't as great as it could be, and certainly it's definitely a couple of notches below Ghost in the Shell.
Right.
I'm gonna,
like I said, the backgrounds are solid. Like it.
oh yeah, yeah,
The world is.
and the designs are fucking great.
Yeah.
It's just it falls down some in being able to distinguish normal, like just the everyday people in the in it.
Yeah.
From one to the other. So the girl jumps out the window. Her husband is Karen. We'll meet him some more later. And then we have a jammin' fucking theme song. Like, it seriously kills. And then we're going to get that later, so we can talk about that. So then we cut to 3 dudes in a really kick-ass, what looks like a Nissan Z car.
Well, you missed the text crawl that explains everything going on.
I meant to like cut that out, and then I found out that unlike literally every other movie I've seen that has a text crawl, it does not appear on the IMDb quotes page. So the text crawl explains we're in the, I think it's 23rd century. There's been a huge series of world wars, non-nuclear, and pretty much everything outside of the cities is what amounts to Mad Max, fucking Judge Dredd, Blasted Earth type shit.
Yeah, basically, World War III happened. It didn't completely destroy the world, which is good news. But then some corporation that I think they called it like the General Management Control Office set up like a prototype city for humanity to start over. That was supposed to be some kind of utopia, but is or isn't, they don't really make it super clear.
Yeah,
Seems
and
nice.
One of the main things that helped end the war? Question marks. Are these things called biodroids or bioroids?
Yeah, the external media calls them bioroids, but throughout the entire movie they call them biodroids.
Yes,
They're basically just replicants.
it seems like
Yeah.
it. And that's another thing that I would consider probably a flaw in the movie is that there are these points throughout the film where people are like, somebody says 80% of the city is biodroids, and you're like, okay, so you would expect them to have some indication that 80% of the people are biodroids, but everybody just looks like people.
Yeah.
Except for the humans, who in some cases have been cybernetically augmented because they were blown up in the war.
Or they came to the city from like outside the wasteland, because that's where they were like born. They kind of get into that later.
Yeah. It's and I don't know. I think it probably
It is confusing for sure.
It would have been helpful, I think, to a general audience or me on my first watch through to like say, I don't know, maybe have some kind of difference between the people and the biodroids. Like, I don't know, silver eyes, just anything.
Yeah.
Something to indicate, oh, this is not a normal people. But so there's basically, we've got in the center of the city, there's a supercomputer. Biodroids are all the administration stuff and most of the city. And that's pretty much the setup for it. And right? That's the crawl.
Yeah.
Yep, that's pretty
Like
much
rats
it.
in the walls of the world.
Yep, like rats in the walls of the world. Okay, so we cut to three dudes in a kick-ass fucking Z car with a Mac 10 under a magazine, under a like manga on the passenger seat. A manga of M66 Black Magic. So referring back to the author's earlier work.
Yeah, a little
Right.
self-plug.
Yeah, it's cool. And these guys are apparently cops, and they're going to take out some terrorists in this office building. And one of them says, "Terrorist, man, I always say you got to be prepared." So they go into this office
Spoiler
building.
alert. They were not prepared.
No.
Not prepared enough.
Like when I first saw this, I was just like, it didn't register that they were cops, because they look like fucking
No,
like just like new.
They're dudes.
Yeah, they just look like a couple of like New York mafioso goons getting ready for like some kind of hit. And then there's like, terrorists, and then just rack a fucking Uzi. Like,
Yeah, so they go and they're gonna, bust some terrorists in this office, and they unlock a door, and behind the door is a crew of terrorists who clearly know they're coming with a crew-served medium machine gun and a line that has lived rent-free in my brain for 30 years now.
I wondered if you were going to bring it up. I almost texted you. So backstory to the "oh shit" line. Josh and I, when we were young people, we had a friend who was the first person to get his apartment, and he had kind of a communal computer we would all use. This was like the late 90s. And so we all just kind of played games on this computer and fucked around. It was pretty much everybody's computer. And it was pretty nice, actually, for the time. He should have spent less money on the computer and more on rent, because he eventually got evicted. Yeah. But we would go through and customize all the sounds, and we turned the error sound. Josh specifically had to have done it to a wave of that "oh shit." So it has lived rent free in my mind too, because anytime anything goes wrong on my computer, I think "oh shit," because it was burned into my brain back then. So when I heard it, I almost started texting you, like, "Nah, we'll talk about it on the air."
Yeah. I had completely forgotten that this was where it was from. I just knew it was a thing in my brain. And when I heard it, I immediately flashed back to being in my bedroom with my VCR hooked up to my computer, pulling sound, like pulling dot wave files off of it. And that was one of them. And then another couple come up later.
And I heard that, and it was like a time machine slapping me in the face.
It really was. I hadn't heard that or it I don't know.
It's just weird how sense memory works.
What got me on that particular thing was just the timing of it.
It's perfect.
Like literally, they just look up into a barrel of a gun that is and then they're dead. That's it.
It's perfectly delivered.
Yeah, it
like
really is.
Shout out to the editor on that one because the timing is just they could not have done that better.
No, it was really perfect.
I will say this movie does suffer. I don't know. Some people online or in the reviews don't like it. I do. From the same things that Cyber City 080808 had, where there's a lot of unnecessary cursing, but
but it's
I like
really
it's fine.
But a lot of it's really fucking funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the thing about it. Like, the lines are terrible, but the way they're delivered is just like they were clearly having fun with it while they were working on that project.
It's also nostalgic for those of us who watch those cheap ass animes from the late 80s and 90s, because I don't know if it was something about the translation and they thought that like Americans liked the cursing, or maybe it curses that much in the original Japanese. I don't know, but they all seem to have a lot of cursing.
I was wondering about that, like in terms of the translation from Japanese to English, like how many instances of the word fucking, in this dub or subtitle are actually like the direct one-to-one Japanese equivalent to fucking. Actually, I should have asked Melissa about that because she would know. My ex-wife was a Japanese major for a while in college.
They teach fucking in college? I guess they probably do.
I'm 100% sure she knows.
I mean, even if they don't, like, what college kid isn't going to like look up how to swear in another language? That's like the first thing anybody wants to learn.
Yeah, so I honestly have no idea how many instances of these are directly fucking, or how many are some Japanese, word that's in kind of the same category that they just bolted fucking onto, even if it doesn't work. So, and that's going to come up in another, like literally one line down from where I'm going next in my notes. So we now have a huge hostage situation with these terrorists who have just killed 3 fucking cops with a medium machine gun in an office. There are police helicopters zipping around the city, and we meet our main characters, Bulieros and Dunan.
Yep.
Bulieros, interestingly to me, is something that I remember hearing and seeing on my VHS as Bulieros, which on subtitles is Buliaros. In other subtitle versions and in the anglicized like character names that are on Wikipedia is Brieros, which is Briaros. Is that right? I think. So that's weird.
How did Tubi have it?
Tubi had it as Bulieros.
Yeah, okay. I think Peacock did too.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on that actually, and I think it's actually supposed to be like Briar Arrows or however it's pronounced, but like a mistranslation into English changed it to Bulieros.
Interesting.
Okay.
There's
a complicated name either way.
Yeah,
it's Greek, right?
There's such a like throughout the movie they just keep calling him Bully.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's why I put him in my notes because I was not going to type out all of that.
Yeah,
every
definitely.
time.
I just mostly type D and B.
Also, hats off, guest keeping notes. That might be a first.
Hey, honestly,
I may have
Jeff, step your game up.
I may have over prepared after shit posting my way on here. So
no, you don't have to worry about any of that.
So Bulieros is a big guy who, with a little bit of research, I found out his entire body is cybernetic except for a brain in his chest.
Oh, nice.
Which that gets a little confusing later.
He does bleed from a leg at some point.
He does. Don't worry about it.
And then there's like at least some part where they're like he's eating like organic food.
Yeah, he's eating with his mouth and his head. Maybe there's a tube.
But his mouth never moves half the time, and then sometimes it does.
You guys are thinking about this too hard. This guy's cool. He's a robot with bunny ears and one giant eye, except he actually has 8 eyes, including one on each of the end of his bunny ears.
I mean, let's be honest. He is the, like, when you think of Appleseed, you're probably thinking of this guy if you've heard of
1,000%.
Yeah.
I had a thought just looking at his character design. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Chappie or not, but he looks like the proto version of what ended up being the robot from Chappie.
Yes.
Yeah, Chappie's on our list. We'll get to that at some point.
The guy who did Chappie, whose name I can't recall, who did Elysium and District 9.
Neil Blomkamp.
Yes. He specifically called Appleseed out and Bulieros out as a design inspiration for Chappie.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he is a big fucking cyborg with bunny ears. And he rules. His partner is Dunan, I can't remember her last name, Newt, something like that.
Some Greek.
Yes, everything in this movie is Greek. We're going to get more into that in a minute. And I don't know why, but we're going to get to it. Dunan is a pretty, also small. She's like waist high on Bulieros almost. I don't know. I guess she's slightly taller than Hitomi, but
I think she's
small.
normal
I
size.
think she's supposed to be like average size with Bulieros, especially when you see him
gigantic
compared to other characters. It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
She's blonde and pretty. I don't know. That like it feels stupid to like, okay, I can spend 10 minutes describing Bulieros. And on the other hand, the female main character, I don't know, she's pretty and blonde. But really that's all there is to it.
I mean, once again, it's not a very detailed drawing. So she's just kind of anime mullet lady.
Her character design kind of, I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons to a couple of characters in here to like Dragon Ball. She looks like Android 18 from Dragon Ball in like a Solid Snake cosplay.
Okay.
At least to me.
I get the Solid Snake cosplay thing. Yeah.
I'm also seeing some Sarah Connor coded, although she predated Sarah Connor. But
kind of in there.
Barely.
I mean,
what year was Terminator? Was 85?
Well, I meant T2 Sarah Connor, badass Sarah Connor, not
okay,
not
waitress
Sarah Connor. Yeah.
Okay, and they are both SWAT cops. Actually, they're SWAT cops. Extra special weapons and tactics, which is a deeply comedic bit that I'm not sure the author was aware of. Like, did he know how funny that was? Maybe.
It's pretty good.
It's a good bit of business. So they're going to go to this terrorist situation, and they do. And every vehicle in this is either a car with 6 wheels or a helicopter.
Yeah.
So they're talking about it on the way, and Dunan is like, oh man, a terrorist situation, this sucks. And Bulieros is like, beats being a traffic cop. So, whatever. We got a hostage standoff with kids now. One of the hostage takers, we come to a cursing line again. You get us our fucking truck or the kids are going to eat fucking lead.
Oh, God.
Which is, again, solid line.
Yeah.
They know what they want. They know how to get it.
Yeah. They want to destroy the power supply. Oh, shit. Wait, is that the plot of this movie? We're inside the hostage-taking thing, and we meet the guy who's going to be the villain for the rest of the movie. He's sort of just one of the hostage-takers at this moment, although he's the only guy who's obviously cybered. We see a couple of people with some like goggles and shit on. This guy has like a silver eye and like, I don't know, a shaved head with some shit sticking out of it.
He kind of looks like someone who was blown apart and then like repaired with extra shit that Mega Man had lying around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I like that.
Also, we should cover Mega Man.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't either.
Well,
Like-
there are a couple of different ways to cover Mega Man. Like, there's a whole bunch of different like anime series. There was a
Oh, really?
there was like a cartoon.
There's a lore.
Yeah, there was a cartoon series in like the mid '90s that was kind of odd. The Mega Man Legends video games has like a trilogy story that's actually really really good.
This shit is all news to me.
I mean, if you're talking about like the original Mega Man, there's probably not a great way to cover that because it's just go to level, kill robots,
Right.
repeat. But like some of the later,
Wait. You're glossing over. You're missing a part of that. Go to level, kill robots. This rules.
yes, well, yeah,
Repeat.
soundtrack
With an incredible
soundtrack kills, this rules, gain power, repeat. But like there's the Mega Man X series has a really interesting like Cyber City story. What was
Oh, I loved Mega Man X. That game was so good.
Mega Man, like I think it's like Netgear or something like that, had like an anime tie-in and like a really weird in-depth like video. I could go on about the Mega Man series for a while. We're tangenting a little hard on something completely different.
So we meet this villain. We're gonna find out later his name is Sebastian. That doesn't actually matter.
You think that's a Blade Runner reference? AJ Sebastian?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no way it's not.
1,000%.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So he's like, okay, guys, to the other hostage takers. Okay, guys, you guys hang here, like, hold these hostages still. I'm going to go take a dump. Bye. And walks down the hall with some stuff he pulled out of, I assume, a filing cabinet. He's got some files. He's looking at them in the bathroom, sets them on fire, walks out of the bathroom. And then who does he run into? It's Dunan and Bolieros, who hold him at gunpoint and say, "You're captured, motherfucker."
Yeah.
And they, put him in some handcuffs and leave him under another cop's control, and he'll be in jail for the rest of his life, obviously.
Yep. Busted.
Yep, there's this guy's not going to have any more significance to this movie after this moment.
End of
Certainly
story.
not. He is
Series
also he is also definitely not cybered based on the silver eye and all the shit sticking out of his head.
Yep.
So normal handcuffs will work fine. So then, Bolieros and Dunan, with a couple other cops, kick down the fucking door where all the hostages are. They say don't move, and then immediately start shooting everyone.
Like, just indiscriminately. Like,
Yeah.
it's... I know it's supposed to be a Japanese property, but it's a very, very American way of
really
handling
is.
a hostage situation.
Just dead bodies falling on children, scarring them for life.
It's like, on the one hand, I am certain that this would be regarded as an error. Like, in editing, they should have had an insert of one of the terrorist's hands going, pulling his gun up or something.
Nah, Han don't shoot first.
Instead, Dunan yells, "Don't move." A quarter second passes. We still see we still see all the cops with their guns pointed at the terrorists, and then the cops just open fire.
Unload.
Yeah. Including a fucking sniper and like all sorts of shit's going off.
Yeah, it's actually really great seeing the sniper. They shoot smoke into the room too. I think.
The first time
some tear gas.
The first time I watched that, I didn't clock it as a smoke grenade. I'm like, are they just saying "fuck those kids" and just like firing a grenade through this window?
Yeah, it is. I did note that is a very good shot of, you see head on this tear gas grenade firing through the window. It's very cool looking. Like, all the action scenes in this movie are fucking great looking.
Yeah.
For 1988, produced for, I don't know,
Cheap-ass anime.
what's $15 in yen? I don't know.
Like 80 million.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So they kill all the hostage takers, except for the one guy they captured coming out of the bathroom. And it turns out they hear a gunshot, and that guy has escaped. Don't worry about it. He's not going to come back.
He did kill their friend, though.
Yeah, he did kill Christopher, I think, maybe. Yeah. Anyway. Then we go back to the guy we saw in the first scene, Karen. Who in some subtitles versions is spelled Charon, like, the guy that rows the boat across the River Leith.
That's what I had him as.
In some subtitles versions, it's Karon.
Shit, now I'm double guessing what I.
Yeah, not important.
I do know they misspelled Olympus everywhere. That's
It's not necessarily a misspelling. It's actually just a shit. I would say it's an anglicization problem, but it's a nehonicization problem where you're moving from Greek to Japanese, but in English letters. Fuck, I don't know, man.
There's a lot of layers to this. At any rate, the translations are very strange.
yes.
I am
Yes,
not a goddamn linguist. I took some linguistics classes and knew that was not my subfield, so I bailed.
So you'd be a cunning one.
I would be.
I'm ashamed of myself. That joke was too obvious.
So we go back to Karin, and he's meeting the villain. Holy shit, they're working together. What the fuck? This is honestly because we're 10 minutes in the movie, maybe 15. It's honestly surprising that they're giving this away like immediately, just in dramatic terms.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was ever supposed to be a surprise.
No, and I agree. It's the fact that it was not supposed to be a surprise is surprising. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I get why you say it.
yeah,
Because it feels like a movie would want to, like, who's the mole, would want to drag that out.
yeah.
I don't think it would serve this story. I mean, I think they made the right decision.
I mean,
not doing that.
if they had more than like just the hour runtime, then yeah, it would be a better twist later. But this was again a very, very short film.
Yeah.
And also, Karen's only motivation or anything beyond being handsome was that he's got this thing with his wife.
Yeah, I mean, his only motivation is his grief. Like that's it.
Yeah, so it turns out that Karen and Sebastian are working together. Karen tells Seb where to find an arms dealer to get some mech suits. And we're like, great, we're going to do some crimes together, I guess. Because we, the audience, has no fucking idea what is going on at this point.
And there's a great quote in this scene. Like, that I actually pulled. Says, because like the terrorist guy's just like, wait, you're actually giving me this information? And Karen just goes, well, I'm a cop and you're a terrorist. It's just a matter of supply and demand. Good old-fashioned commerce, that's all. Always was and always will be the way of the world.
Yeah, that's preceded by Sebastian saying, there are still arms dealers? I didn't know they existed anymore, or something like that. And yeah, a deeply cynical line.
Yeah, it was one of my favorites in the whole thing. Like, man.
I like these two together, by the way. It's a good team.
It's we can talk about this more later, but yeah, I want to bring up the fact that this movie could very easily be told from sort of the opposite viewpoint of like Karen and Sebastian trying to take down the city against the against the control of the police and the biodroids and the supercomputer.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like,
I would love to see that story. Just like, because they really don't go into like how these two know each other. It's just established that they do.
And Sebastian's ruthless, but he's not. He's not evil. I mean, he's not motivated by evil anyway. He just wants to be free. Yeah.
It's like he's not really He's supposed to be the villain, but he's not really painted as one. And then
once again, not a lot of time to paint him as much as anything.
and same with Karen. Like, you can, when you really start thinking about it after, if you dig into what's going on, like, you can understand his motivations and be like, okay, I can see why you would want to assist with this crusade. And just the fact that you're in a authoritative position to assist with that is, it makes for a really, really good plot point that I don't think that they did enough with.
Yeah. I would have personally, and I thought of this 3/4 of the way through my second watch, like, I would love to see version B of this movie where Dunan and Belieros are the villains to Seb and Karen. Because, I mean, it would be a super, like, you just shift the narrative 180 degrees. Oh yeah, these guys are striking against the horrible totalitarian rule of the biodroids. Great.
I wouldn't even make them villains. You could convert them halfway through to the.
Oh yeah.
Or
I'm just, if you sort of reverse, through the movie at a mirror, I guess.
The villain is clear. It's the redhead lady. I can't remember her name. Athena. Yeah.
Another Greek.
She's and in the end, it kind of peters out, and she's not really a villain. She's not really presented.
Yeah.
She seems like the obvious one. Anyway, we need to keep going on it.
Okay. Yeah. So, we find out through Bolieros, like getting his brain downloaded into a computer, that we find out about Sebastian. He has previously broken into Gaia, which is the big central computing hub. He's an ideologically motivated terrorist. He's not just in it for the money, which apparently most terrorists are in this world. Whatever.
It's weird because that's the problem with living in a utopia. Why do they need money if they're living in a utopia? Also, are these terrorist bio droids or are...
So from what I was able to gather, like the terror cell, they're all natural born humans. And their whole thing is they're trying to take down the biodroid regime because the biodroids are keeping humans under thumb and trying to rule them. And so that was like that was like his whole thing, because he didn't break into Gaia the first time. Like, he escaped. That's how we got all messed up and cybered out.
Oh, was that okay?
Because when they were pulling his profile, they're like, yeah, he was wanted for attempted to break into Gaia. That's where he lost his eye and ear. And it's like, clearly he lost more than that from what we see later. But
okay. I heard that slightly differently, in that he attempted to break into Gaia and got shot shit or something, and lost it. Okay,
he had attempted to break in and then just basically got his ass handed to him, but survived.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the actual fucking linear plot of this thing, which is weird because there's not that much linear plot of this thing. It's just easy to run off on fucking tangents. Like
I said, I had to
they leave so many questions unanswered. You want to speculate on what the answer would be.
And like I said, I kept going back and trying to put the plot together.
Okay, so we got a helicopter coming into the city. It looks like exactly like fucking helicopter that you could see anytime in the past 30 years of reality. This is not a future helicopter. I think it's a Sikorsky Sea King is the actual model. Don't worry about it. Anyway, there is a girl on board.
An end to you talking about helicopters.
There is a girl on board. Her name is Hitomi. And we also cut to a very fancy building with a red-haired lady inside it. Her name is Athena. Her assistant's name is Nike, or Nike. Yes, it's the same word as the fucking gym shoes. And it turns out, apparently Hitomi is always bringing these strays into the city, including two who are named Bolieros and Dunan. And she brings these, she goes out in the wasteland and she observes people and then, picks some people up and brings them into the city to integrate them into life. And her most recent two real successes were Dunan and Bolieros, who are,
everything about Hitomi's plot was confusing to me, and I kind of just ignored it.
Yeah.
So she just goes out in the wastes for fun.
So from what I was able to gather, she goes out into the wastes and on rescue missions and brings back humans that were born and just lived out there maybe their entire lives, and brings them into Olympus so that they can so they have a chance to thrive outside of just the glassed out wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is if I'm trying to think of what the movie or sketch was, but you flash up a few frames of plot missing. Yes, in terms of what I was able to gather about the Appleseed manga, Hitomi is sort of the inverse version of Athena, where Athena just wants the biodroids and the city to work logically and smoothly, and Hitomi is concerned with the existence of human people, even though she is a biodroid.
Okay.
So yeah, she goes out,
We got
rescues.
a real Neuromancer Wintermute situation going
Yes,
kind of.
actually, yeah, good fucking metaphorizing there. And I don't know how accurate that is because it's. I was unable to find a good English summary of the Appleseed manga.
Yeah.
And it turned out that last night at 10 o'clock, as I was half drunk already, I was unable to spend like 4 hours reading through the entire manga. So yeah, Hitomi goes out, brings people in, and tries to integrate them into the world because she likes people as opposed to, programmed biodroids.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, this time she didn't bring anybody in. And Athena hates it when she brings people in because, quote, the outside world breeds psychopaths and lunatic that will only destabilize Olympus. They'll never integrate. And then says, devils.
That one hit home a little
A little bit.
It was a little
hard
odd.
last night as I was watching.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
Strike one up in the prescience column.
Yeah. It's everything's fine in Olympus. Olympus is like the capital, is the city. Gaia is the capital area, right?
Gaia, I thought Gaia was like,
Gaia's the
yeah, I
computer.
was about to say Gaia is like the main computer mainframe that runs everything in Olympus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Tartarus block, which is where Tartarus being the Greek afterlife of anyway, there's so much Greek shit in here for absolutely no fucking reason.
I bet it makes sense if you read the manga.
Oh, very possibly. In terms of the anime, it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one thing I did learn. I can't remember what Bulieros' last name, quote marks, is.
Hecaton
That's that.
Yes,
I think I have it pulled up here. Let me.
Hecatonchirus.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
something
that is the 100-armed giant of Greek mythology, and that makes sense in the anime because apparently in the manga, because apparently he ends up multiple times getting like bolted into giant fucking mech things
Good for
with
him.
like tons of arms.
I like that for him.
Yeah, it's good for him. So then this plot winds up, whatever. This scene winds up, and Dunan and Briareros pick up Hitomi outside the office for drinks at a bar. It goes great. We go to a bar. We have a fun time. Hitomi hits on Karen, but he's going on duty soon. Everybody's shit-faced, and everybody's happy. Like, hey, Hitomi brought us to the city.
Yeah, she's the reason that we are not living in a Mad Max style world.
Yeah, you get the kind of exposition from Dunan, like we all owe Hitomi a debt because she pulled us from the wasteland and gave us this chance in Utopia, and that's kind of what sets up her character.
Yeah. Oh, here is another thing from the manga that is absolutely not addressed in the anime at all. Bulieros and Dunan are lovers and have been since before he got blown up in the outside world.
Because I was trying to figure that out like the whole time because like
I was surprised to learn
because what got me was like watching and maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part and me thinking through my own filters. But just watching the scene in the bar where Hitomi passes out on Dunan's shoulder and then Dunan just gives her this look. I spent this whole movie thinking she was a lesbian.
Fair.
Again, maybe it's just me looking for like my own people everywhere. But
no, I totally see getting that.
This is hilarious because I completely saw them as a couple the whole time. I assumed they were together.
Well, I can see where you would get that, but watching the film and watching Dunan and Bully's relationship, like to me that's a lot of the shit that they do is just kind of how me and like my best friend interact. Like it's completely platonic and just like, we'll make fun of each other or whatever, but there's none of that fucking I can't even think of the phrase I'm looking for. But no, there's like no romantic connection whatsoever, and that's the whole that was what I got from watching those two together, was they're just like the tightest best friends.
Wasn't there a comment about a honeymoon or something? Maybe I'm mixing up
there was
something else I watched.
well, no, there was something later on where, like, after they go on this, like, montage that I'm sure we'll get into later, like, a couple of folks at their precinct kind of give them some.
Oh,
kinda-
Yeah,
kinda like,
that's what it was.
right.
They kind of tease them, like, oh, I guess.
Weren't you on leave? Oh, I thought it was their
Yeah,
honeymoon.
like, which again just kind of plays into just, obviously you see two people in a certain area that appear to be very close to each other. Someone's going to make this stupid ass couples joke.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me how we all had different reads, because I assumed couple from the jump.
Huh. That is fascinating, honestly. Like, it's really, because that never, in all my years of having seen this, never occurred to me that they were at any point a couple, because all that shit reads like, even the scene later where they're in an apartment and Bulieros is like checking his email, sitting on a bed, and she's cleaning a gun. All of their shit just is so easily translatable to the language of these cops have been partners for 10 years.
Yeah.
They're closer than they are to their wives.
That really struck me as a couple hanging out.
Well, the thing is that.
Yeah, fair.
Like,
I mean, there's no wrong way to read this, I think.
But like, the thing that got me was, like, if they're supposed to be a couple, like, why are they on different beds?
Oh, good
Like,
point.
that's what got me. It's
One thing you got to give this movie credit for, they took into account Barrieros' weight. Like, no matter what he was getting in, it would heave with
him out the shocks
with his girth. So maybe the bed can't hold.
Yeah,
well, I don't know. I'm grasping. The bed thing is a good argument.
Okay. Okay. Back to the plot.
The bed can't take the extra 120 pounds of Doonan.
But God, the implications painted there alone.
Bulieros is programmed with some special skills. Apparently he was a commando working under her father, who was a general in the wars out in the wasteland, and I don't know.
We don't have time to go any deeper.
Yeah. So then we cut to Sebastian and his another random crew of terrorists. They shoot this arms dealer that he got the name of from Karen, and steal a bunch of these police mechs, which are exactly the mechs from Real Steel. They're like 12 feet tall. We're going to find out almost immediately that these are pretty much the same scale as the police mechs, but we didn't see really any police mechs earlier in the movie. Mm-mm. So they steal a bunch of mechs. They start blowing shit up. Karen takes off because he's on duty at 9, which is why he couldn't get himself drunk and fuck Hitomi, I guess. And
well, that needs grieving.
Yeah, sure. A bunch of bombs go off, and all the cop mechs look like Moomin. Eric, are you guys familiar with Moomin?
That's like
it's Norwegian or Swedish.
It's some kind of, I think it was Finnish. Like
Finnish?
Yeah, I thought it was
Finnish.
like a Finnish, like, kind of kids cartoon thing.
Yes. The Moomin. Look that up. It looks exactly like the police mechs, except it's a Finnish children's cartoon. And all the terrorists get shot all the terrorists get killed except for Sebastian. He is about to take off. He gets cornered by a guy. He gets saved by Karen, who's in his own police mech. And Sebastian takes off, and then Karen pretends he was wounded. Blah, blah, blah.
Anyone shipping Karen and Sebastian? Because I kind of am.
I mean,
I can definitely see it.
Yeah, I'd be fucking fine with
fan
that.
fiction exists. We can agree on that, right? It's out there.
I hope so. Yeah. So then we go to Sebastian in some kind of apartment, and he makes a call to the news and gives a very nice manifesto about how he opposes the biodroid rulers. They were created to serve, not govern humanity. And the biodroids are going to deploy remote-controlled spider mech tanks to the blasted Earth. And then after that point, they will like humans will not be in control of their own destiny. It'll all be the Gaia supercomputer and the biodroids running everything. There'll be nothing we can do. Rise up, humans, etc.
Okay.
So he's got some great points.
Great points, but let's think about it. Right now, you've got a button that says give a supercomputer control of humanity. Are you pushing that button today? Because I'm thinking about it. Depends on who designed the supercomputer.
Yeah, I think that's always the fucking problem, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, what if it was Musk that just
Well, he doesn't
designed
design
the
shit,
supercomputer?
so...
Buys his way
What
in.
if-
Come on.
What if it was Musk that bought his way into an ownership position on top of a bunch of 19-year-olds who designed a supercomputer?
It's more likely. I hate it.
Oh, God.
The supercomputer would be called X. That is the thing he has been aiming for his entire life, to have something called X. Okay, so, yeah, and we also see during his call to the news media that he is getting spied on for like a crack in a door. And that's going to come back later. Don't worry about it. Then we cut to seeing this multipede flying tank, spider tank thing, blowing up fucking tanks and shit in the desert. And we do a really interesting cut from Sebastian delivering this speech to Nike, Athena's assistant, reciting like what he said. And Athena basically says, "Oh, so that was all?" And then her interior monologue says, I wish he was crazy."
Yeah, she's the only one that gets interior monologue, which is kind of weird, huh?
Which is really weird because she's certainly not the hero of the
No,
piece.
No, not at all.
Maybe it's not internal and everybody just pretends.
Possibly.
That it is. Athena's
Possibly.
fucking thinking out loud again. Oh, well, she's the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that she is the only one that gets it, but that she has a little response to his manifesto that basically amounts to, I wish he was crazy. And then she switches over immediately to, if he was crazy, then he wouldn't be so good at what he was doing. But what she said, I wish he was crazy about, were his remarks about the biodroids and Gaia ruling over all humans.
Yeah.
It's like, so at this point,
That is our plan.
they've tried to establish like Sebastian as the villain, and then Athena comes in. And I'm sitting there like, no, fuck this chick. Like, he's got a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what was that movie? Oh, Ransom. Okay. No, not Ransom. Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and Patrick Stewart, where Mel Gibson is a crazy conspiracy theory nut, like we had in the 1990s, that didn't necessarily always devolve into anti-Semitism, although obviously in Mel Gibson's case it did.
I was going to say, unlike real life Mel Gibson, which is not at all conspiracy minded whatsoever.
He I don't remember what exactly the plot was, but it amounted to one of the conspiracy theories he came up with was real, and Patrick Stewart was the villain of this conspiracy theory. So that's what this is. This is the Patrick Stewart version. This is
soon
the
to be
Patrick Stewart
ambassador to
monologue.
Israel. Mel Gibson.
Fucking hell.
I mean, literally the worst person for every job is being picked. So
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so anyway, we the audience all agree that Sebastian has a great point, and Athena kind of sucks. Right?
yeah,
Totally.
Sebastian and Karen are Karen specifically is probably the most sympathetic character in the story. Sebastian, you don't really know his motivations, but he seems to be wanting to free humanity.
Yeah.
And then the two cops are cops, so naturally some suspicion falls on them.
Naturally, yeah, we'll get a... I've got a comment about that later. So yeah, we see the multipede tank flying around and blowing shit up real good. And it's another piece of this anime and then manga that is very cool design.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all the mechs in this thing, all the guns, and it carries through to Ghost in the Shell, where just all the design stuff in Ghost in the Shell fucking rules.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with that.
The design of that multipede cannon, like the first thought I had on it was that is a Texas flea. Like it looks like a giant flea with a shitload of guns strapped to it. So like
Yeah, it does.
It's a Texas flea. Like that's
It honestly kind of looks like I think they're in some places they're called Jerusalem crickets. They're horrible looking.
Weird name.
Yeah, other places they're called cave crickets. Eric, you have seen them. They inhabited our house, the basement of our house on Sylvan Street.
Oh, I think we called them spider crickets. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. Anyway, so it looks like this is a new ultra weapon, and it's cool, and it's gonna obviously crush the human resistance, I guess, is the goal. Anyway, this one is, has a human operator, but the next generation, or this prototype has a human operator, but the next generation is going to be entirely Gaia controlled. That's definitely not a plot point we'll worry about later. So we find out that the Terrys, we find out that them Terrys, including Sebastian, stole some files while they were blowing shit up in the Tartarus block the previous night. They don't know what files they are. Turns out one of them is going to be Hitomi. I'm not sure why it specified that they stole 2 files. Only one is actually relevant. So, I assume that has something to do with the manga. Anyway, we see the spider droid blow some shit up, and then is another immortal line that lives in my brain rent-free. We see Dunan and Bulieros watching it blow some shit up, and Bulieros says, "Holy shit, that thing really kicks ass, huh?" Which I believe was my shutdown sound for like a decade. I had no memory of this being the origin of that until I watched it again. So we go to another meeting with Seb and Karen. Seb gives Karen Hitomi's file, and then we cut to see some more evidence of the spying, and then Bulieros' desk gets a call while he's not there, and is apparently totally stereotypical police captain, picks up the phone and is like, "I don't know where these fucking guys are. I can't get rid of them 1 minute, and then as soon as I need them, they're gone. Leave a message." And it turns out that Dunan and Bulieros are at a graveyard with a bunch of other cops to grieve that cop who got shot earlier in the show. They're leaving. Dunan and Bulieros. They run into, weirdly, Karen. And he is visiting his wife's grave. And he gives a pretty good monologue about how she could not adapt to life in Olympus. And that the city, since both he and she had come in from the outside world, the city's organized environment suffocated her. In a way, it was murder.
This falls into that late 20th century trope of life being bad because it's boring. And it makes me wonder, there's a lot of people nowadays who would love to live in this utopia just to have food.
Because I was thinking the whole time that he's talking, like that's where I didn't really get his motivation as a villain. It's like, so you're telling me that you have food and healthcare, and that you hate your life because of it? Like, what?
That was a very specifically 90s, like with Fight Club and The Matrix and stuff, but definitely the 80s too, where things were relatively good and people were like freaked out about it.
Also a movie that I hated from fucking minute one, American Beauty.
Yeah, that's the main plot point in that too. He had to start smoking weed.
He's got bad movie. Anyway,
but let's give a hand to the lead actor who never did anything wrong.
A guy who, we don't care about his acting. We do respect his views on. I cannot even continue this bit.
Don't continue the bit.
No,
bad guy, Kevin Spacey.
Bad guy. It's actually and I'm gonna do like maybe a minute on this, if that. So one of the interesting things about utopias that
Cumtopias, if you like that nomenclature.
Yeah, sure. One of the problems with utopias is that some people will never enjoy a utopia.
Yeah.
There always needs to be a safety valve. The important thing that science fiction has taught me is that if you're going to design a utopia, you got to let people go. And that's the winning factor in Ian Banks's culture novels. The culture is a utopia, and it also has extremely porous edges. So you can just not be in the culture anymore. You aren't trapped there in a city with, your only access to healthcare and food and whatever being through the culture at large.
Mm-hmm.
It has very porous edges. You can get the fuck out. You can go live on a fucking, I don't know, Arctic planet, carrying a spear, hunting fucking, nano seals. I don't know. I made that word up.
Like a tiny seal.
I was thinking more nanotechnology seals, but
Pretty hard
whatever.
to hit with a spear. We got.
Let's
get back on topic.
It's like a big blob of nanotechnology in the shape of a seal.
I think Appleseed would have benefited greatly from showing people trying to escape and not being able to. Maybe.
Yeah, and I really wonder how much of the manga made it in, because it feels like this is a real serious subplot of the movie, and it's kind of just brushed off.
Because to us, having food and healthcare and not having to worry
is
that's
dream.
Give the bio droids the fucking keys, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's see, what is it, February 16th? I have been without my heart medication for about 90 days now. And it'd be great if I could just get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That'd be cool, right?
Yeah, it would be great, if I didn't have to slave away for 40 plus hours a week in order to be able to afford my fucking insulin. Not to mention all the other hormone treatments and shit that I have to take to, function. Just the insulin alone that actually keeps me alive is way too fucking expensive, and universal healthcare just needs to happen, goddammit.
Does.
On the other hand,
and I think it's inevitable, but there's just going to have to, like everything good in America, there's going to have to be bloodshed for it.
On the other hand, I totally get, I have those fucking chemically built-in anti-establishment and anti-authority, triggers in my brain where I'm like, yeah, Karen's got a real good point here. You can't trap people in what you tell them is a good time if they're not having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of seems like with Olympus, it sort of takes away that choice to actually be there. If you're in that city, you're just kind of fucking stuck. And that kind of seems to be what he's railing against, is just that restriction on freedom and movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. It needed, I mean, once again, it's an hour and 11 minutes. It needed a little bit more world building to show that not everybody's happy, because all the humans we see are pretty happy, all living lives
Here's the thing. We don't know how many fucking humans we see.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
We know 3 humans.
Yeah.
As far as I know, the only identified humans in this are 4. Flea, Karen's wife, Karen, Boleros, and Dunan. Everybody else,
it's
I have
Sebastian,
no fucking
right?
idea. Oh, Sebastian. Yeah. Okay, so 5. And this is where we get Karen talks about how Dunan says something like, everybody's so happy here, though. And Karen says, yeah, of course they're happy. 80% of the people are biodroids. I mean, they're built, they're programmed to be happy in this, programmed, organized environment. And there is a very cool spinning camera move in this scene where they're standing in a shrine in this graveyard, and the camera just spins around them, even though it's not a camera, it's animation. But a really good bit of art there. you can do basic shit, or you can do fun camera spins 360 degrees around like three people having a conversation. So, and then they all break up, I guess, and take off. Karen goes to a mechanic. This mechanic has stripped Karen's police mech of like a bunch of armor so he can have speed.
I think they said it was like half of the standard armor was taken off.
Right.
Yeah, it's half thickness armor, but he thinks that, look, I'm going to be so fast nobody will be able to hit me fucking anyway.
I think like a basic reflex build in like any RPG is what this dude is going for.
Yeah. And he sees Dunan's cool new tougher mech that she's ordered because she apparently just breaks every goddamn mech she's in.
I like Dunan. They definitely play her up to be kind of the loose cannon.
Dunan is how I play like just about every RPG character I build. Just all aggro, no thought, and I love her.
It's very fun.
Yeah, Dunan is very fun. And then we get a meeting with Dunan and Bulieros with Athena. Hey, we've actually had some interaction between Athena and the rest of the story. And it turns out that she wants to transfer them to, I guess, the city's version of the FBI, which is like, I can't remember what they're called, the SSSP.
Yeah.
With
that's basically their investigations unit that they were trying to transfer to anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
With the specific remit that, and by the way, you want to join this, your goal is to kill Sebastian. But that's not how the rules go. We should arrest him. No, I want you to kill him. No fucking chance to.
You're assassins.
Which is kind of weird to me that they were like against that in that meeting, because whenever they were talking earlier in the movie about like Dunan wanted to transfer to investigations, Bulieros had said something about it, and like, why would you want to leave SWAT? And she goes, so that I can kill the son of a bitch. So it's like, you're being given your chance to do that. Now you don't want to? Like, what?
Yeah, I clocked that too. Wasn't it Bulieros though who said that's against regulation? I was kind of clocking that as specifically a Dunan thing, who wanting to kill him.
Yeah, it was Bulieros.
That could have been headcanon
against. Against regulation, I think. And anyway, it turns out that Athena, by the way, doesn't even bother to meet with them in person. She's a hologram.
Yeah.
And then they do an investigating montage. They talk to people on the streets. Bulieros wears the coolest fucking jacket this side of Nicolas Cage in Wild at Heart. It's got like 19 fucking lapels and all these flaps. I don't even
Bright
know.
Hunter orange.
It's amazing. It's all set to a fucking swinging soundtrack. It's absolutely fucking great. They do some investigating. They don't find anything out as far as
all he had to do was check his fucking voicemail once.
Yes, like they shake down some like poor guy in his car. They run into another investigator. Like
almost shoot another cop. Yeah,
they're literally just holding badges up at each other with guns in each other's face. Like, shit, never mind.
That was a very funny scene.
It's a very funny bit. So we cut to a bar, or above a bar, with Seb and Karen, and Sebastian is swapping out his arms and legs for some absolutely crazy cyberware bullshit.
It's like one of the coolest sequences.
Yeah, it's super
very
cool
sequence, and he's like talking as he's kind of methodically switching out his cybernetics,
and it
very cool in cyberpunk.
It also really kind of goes into just like how fucked up this guy got in his previous op, because they had mentioned when he tried to storm Gaia that he lost his eye and ear and whatever else, but you really don't see it until now. Like he's literally like bolting new legs onto himself. Like he is more Borg than human at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very cool sequence, and for the rest of the show, he looks really cool.
Yeah.
So he swaps his arms and legs out for crazy cyber shit, and we see them getting spied on again by this old man. and they're basically breaking up Sebastian and Karen. He's saying, okay, tonight is phase 1. You gotta go take care of this, and I'll do my part. And then Sebastian follows the old man down to his video phone link and kills him as he's leaving a message for Bulieros, which we find out in the next scene.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Bulieros and Dunan's apartment. She's cleaning a gun. Bulieros is checking his messages wearing a very sexy robe. I don't know. It's got
robe.
It's got laces on the sleeves. I'm not sure exactly. It's a weird setup.
And it makes you wonder why he even needs it, because the dude is like all robot.
Yep. Don't exactly understand it.
I mean,
if I was all robot, I'd probably still want to. I feel weird without wearing a shirt to like the store and stuff.
I mean, it looks really neat. Like the design is great.
Yeah, I like the idea of the sort of like, I don't know, almost shoelaced on design sleeves.
They really should have stretched a tank top over RoboCop. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh god, that'd be fucking
missed opportunity.
Sexy. Robo wants to fuck. fuck me. RoboCop's immortal line.
There's got to be an edit of that somewhere on the internet. It's the fucking internet.
So, Bulieros checks his messages on his laptop, gets all these messages from this old guy who had been trying to feed him information for like 3 days.
Yeah.
About, hey, I got this terrorist in my bar. Oh yeah, there's a cop involved. He also gets a message from Hitomi asking, "Can you come over and fix the fucking hinges on my door?" or some stupid shit.
Yeah,
just like handyman bullshit.
The juxtaposition is so great, because it's like you have these like super serious messages from this bartender, and then at the very end, just this little sing-song chirpy thing like, "Hi, I'm locked out of my apartment. Can you help?"
Yeah. So, right at the same time that Bulieros is getting his messages, Athena, we cut to, finds out that Hitomi's data was one of the files stolen by the Terrys. And then we cut outside of we cut to outside of Dunan, Bulieros, and Hitomi's apartment, and find that Karen is climbing out of a fucking sewer, and he gasses the shit out of all of them, except for some reason it doesn't work on Dunan and Bulieros.
Well, Bulieros is a robot.
Bulieros is a robot, but and like the message that they got from that bartender, like it was really kind of jumbled, but like they got the information that someone was going to be targeting Hitomi, so like it didn't work, and Dunan was wearing a gas mask whenever she actually
Dunan was ready.
So they were playing possum like the whole time, but Bulieros is a mech, and Duna and she was
Dunan was
she had a rebreather on.
Yeah. So he then Karen busts into Hitomi's apartment, grabs her, and then tries to run away with her. We're like, why the fuck does he want her? We don't know. We'll find that out 2 scenes down the line. We have a scene where Bulieros and Dunan are just about to capture Karen as he escapes with Hitomi, including a sweet fucking shot by Dunan with a 40mm grenade off the top of a building. And then Karen like throws a piece of his mech's armor in Bulieros' face, and they're about to pursue as he's getting away, and suddenly Dunan and Bulieros are captured by the cops.
Yeah.
And as the audience, we're like, what the fuck is this? And then we get a cool scene of Seb breaking into the multipede tank and throwing a tech out the fucking door. Then we get the explanation of the whole thing from Athena, where she's interrogating / informing DNB, and it says that, like, the thing is, Hitomi's DNA is like, that's the key that unlocks the computer core. So she could, like, her DNA can shut down the computer. The big Gaia computer that runs everything, which would be perfect for terrorists. And she really suspects Bulieros and Dunan of helping Sebastian.
Yeah.
And because they stopped the cops from firing on Karen and Hitomi.
And really, they just care about Hitomi, not her DNA.
Yeah, they don't know that Hitomi is just as good dead,
right?
As not in Karen's hands. And we get a flash. We find out that the army is going to be in the city in 12 hours. Athena blows up all of the terminals for the computer except for one. And we get a great flashback from Karen, where it turns out that, yes, this dystopia, or this utopia, is in fact a dystopia for people whose wives committed suicide. Where some people show up and interrogate him about why his wife was unhappy, and he's like, I don't know, she just died, I'm fucking grieving, and they like grab him and strap him to a chair and rip his memories out.
Yeah, now you really got his motivation.
Yeah, it kind of shows also the point that Sebastian's had the whole time. Where like, these biodroid corpos are basically just trying to control and see everything that we do, and it really kind of drives home, the point again where I'm like, just kind of rooting for him at this point. Like, yeah, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting, not fleshed out plot thread. Let's see. Then we cut to like basically the next day.
Is this the point where they showed the fetuses in the jars and stuff?
No, that was like way earlier.
That was in the attack on the Tartarus.
Yeah,
block.
that was like right at the bar scene. Whenever Karen is fixing to go on duty, and they just flash that lab because it's apparently like right outside of where they were at.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, we skip over like most of a day of time, apparently, because apparently one of my OCDs on this show is tracking time in movies and TV shows.
You do that a lot, now that you mention it.
Yeah, I can't fucking get away from it. I don't know why. And we find out that Bulieros and Dunan go and find the bartender guy who sent him the message about a cop being involved with the terrorist plot, and that everybody goes, and they're all in mech suits, including Dunan's new cool Gujas suit, like blockading the last computer terminal. And Karen apparently has just stuck Hitomi in the cells under the police station, where I guess nobody's going to notice.
Yeah. It's utopia. Probably not a lot of prisoners.
Yeah. So he pulls her out of a cell, sticks her in a police van, and they take off and head to the computer terminal, where there's the blockade, and Hitomi makes some noise in the back of the van. Bulieros hears it with his cool bunny ears. And then we get a big fight. The
logistics of this fight are hard to follow.
They're hard to follow, but every bit of it looks very cool.
Yeah. The
The
fighting does, but the way they end up like at the place where they need to put Hitomi's body, and then he just kind of drops her. I don't know. The whole thing was a little weird, but whatever.
Yeah. All the cops end up shooting the police van to stop it from getting there. And then Karen jumps out in his fucking, lightly armored mech suit and makes a bunch of cops good cops. And then takes Hitomi to the terminal, where he's finally fucking disabled, and basically killed, and effectively, as he's dying, throws her into the terminal and says, "Do it. You have to shut it off." Where I don't know. I think if you're reading this a whole bunch, I think it's sort of implied that maybe they had some conversations about why he's doing this.
He's trying to appeal to her love of humanity, which
Yeah.
there just wasn't enough time to really establish. But in a manga where there was a lot of panels, maybe it would have been a lot better, or a full-length movie even.
Yeah. So she goes in and disables the computer. And then a character we've never seen before, as far as I'm aware, tells Athena, who's in a helicopter overhead, hey, I just figured it out. If Gaia goes offline, then the only power in the city is going to be that prototype multipede that had the human operator. And Athena's like, whoa, shit. And hey, that's the plot of the rest of the movie.
I forgot about Sebastian. What's he been doing for the last...
So Sebastian takes off in the multipede cannon and does some chaos.
Yeah.
Including some really funny shit of like just this hovering fucking multipede cannon just like gently bonking a building a couple of times until
and then at 9/11
down. Yeah. And like
he does a 9/11.
He does a 9/11 like all great heroes do.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
That is the official stance of High Tech Low Life.
Okay, then.
We dedicate this podcast to the brave Mujahideen fighters.
There's some conspiracy theorists somewhere multipede cannons don't melt steel beams.
Yes. Okay, so he's doing that. There's a bunch of scenes that again look really cool, and the designs of everything look sweet. Of this multipede cannon blowing shit up and shooting helicopters out of the sky and whatever. There's some big fucking explodes, anyway, we end up jumping ahead or jumping forward to the main Gaia data banks, I guess.
This is kind of lame because we were led to believe that Hitomi being put in there was end game, and now suddenly there's this extra solution to the problem.
Yeah, it's not explained very well. It's like if she enters the Gaia terminal, then it like triggers an automatic shutdown, but attached to the same terminal is this like whole database facility that has an override thing.
Yeah, if we basically the rest of the movie ends up being if we blow up the DNA lock circuit that Hitomi activated, the computer will reboot.
I feel like you should have just went to that first.
Yeah, you would think that that would be the case, but no.
Yeah. Nah, So, we run through a bunch of halls. It's exactly like fucking Doctor Who. Just run through fucking hallways. Bulieros gets shot in the leg. So he's down, and Athena and Dunan have to continue on. There are a bunch of automated.
Athena's like fully one of the gang now, which is another kind of bummer.
Which is like she went from being like their foil to now she's like part of the she's part of the final run for almost no reason other than just to be there.
Yeah,
inner monologuing the whole way.
She really is. And Bulieros shoots out all these fucking booby traps and shit. They Dunan and Athena get to the central control core.
There's another thing that we kind of missed in here. Like before they start doing like the final run through the turrets and Bulieros starts shooting them out. Dunan blows up one of the droid turrets, and like that's how Bulieros got shot. Like the ricochet from her pistol hit Bulieros' knee, and the kickback like basically fried her wrist.
Yeah, that was confusing.
Yes. Yeah, like she shot one of those turrets too close. The kickback from that like snapped her wrist back, so it essentially either broke or sprained her wrist. And the ricochet from her, which makes no sense to me, 9mm pistol goes through a robot knee, and he is now like he's down for the count and bleeding.
Yeah. And also a thing we'll find out in like 5 seconds, which is it turns out it's not only his knee, he also got shot in the gut.
Yeah, which doesn't ever have any payoff.
Um, so yeah, they run down some halls. Billy Arrows shoots some shit. They get to this big central terminal thing, and Athena is like using binoculars and guiding Doonan in with her pistol.
Yes.
Like,
so it's not even Doonan's pistol; it's Athena's service pistol.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and even though Doonan is supposed to be like a trained sharp shot, is now
with her left
now has
hand,
now has the offhand penalty of trying to hit this target way far away with a 9mm
Offhand and called shot.
Offhand short range weapon.
And then Billy Arrows force ghosts in
on like the last 2 rounds of this again standard service pistol.
Squeakies don't pull.
It reminds her the most basic thing they teach you the first time you ever fire a gun.
Yes.
Which again, if she's supposed to be a sharpshooter, you would think would have just been second nature.
Yeah, it's very weird. So anyway, they shoot the thing. The computer fucking reboots, and Sebastian falls out of the sky in his multipede cannon. And then he like has booted up his fucking mech suit. He's climbing out of the multipede cannon and is immediately shot in the forehead.
No final conflict whatsoever. Just the second
like,
he appears out the mech, he is down like a bitch.
You're like, oh, okay, so we have another action scene coming. Nope, he's dead.
Psych.
Yeah.
I saw many people online say this movie had an anticlimactic ending, and I would have to agree with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would exactly describe it as that, but it is somehow, for a movie with a bunch of climax, the very end climax is kind of a, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, from the point that Hitomi goes in the chamber, it feels very like rushed and last minute. Like, we got to end this fucking thing. We got 10 minutes to end it. What are we going to do? Video game run through a booby-trapped hallway. All right,
the budget clearly ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we see Doonan and Hitomi meeting Billy Arrows in a wheelchair at the hospital. Everybody has a good laugh because Hitomi's like, I don't know, I just thought it was a great idea to go with Karen. And Doonan is like, well, he is very handsome. I can see why you would want to do that. Everybody has a good laugh.
The robot girl wanted to bang that Terry.
And the movie's over.
Yeah, life goes on. You at one point see Doonan walking down the street and just gives a little nod to Athena, who happens to be driving by at that second.
Yeah, that was deeply weird. Like,
you didn't mention the part where Doonan farted for no fucking reason.
Oh, that was like.
That was when they were cleaning guns.
Yeah, that was when they were like in their apartment, like before. Yeah, that was a while back.
It was so weird to me. It was so out of nowhere.
It was definitely odd.
It didn't even sound like a fart. It just sounded like a weird sound effect.
Yeah.
And then she goes, hee hee hee.
Yeah.
Weird shit.
This is a very strange movie. Anyway, the theme song at the end of the film is fucking credible. Even if you're not going to watch the whole movie, look it up on YouTube or watch it on.
I mean, it's an
Amazon
hour long.
Prime,
Watch the movie.
Tubi,
just watch the movie to say you did. It only takes an hour of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a beautiful example of what I'm sure is a very pretty Japanese girl singing lines that she has very little understanding of about how this movie was a crystal celebration at the speed of light and a crystal celebration at if there is hope.
Oh.
The gasping beat of stagnant cities is a prism of loudness.
Wow.
It's kind of incredible. Anyway, 5 stars.
It is a strange one.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm really glad we watched it. I'm very glad like this would have been, this would have been relatively low on our list had you not suggested it, Izzy, as one of your potentials for guest post. I'm really glad we watched it.
No, that was that was one of those ones. I was like, they've got to get to it eventually, and so like, yeah, that I just kind of threw that out there. I was really hoping that would be the one that got picked, and so whenever Eric came back and said, "Yeah, we could do Appleseed," I'm like, "Fuck yes!"
It also opens us up to the greater Appleseed extended universe, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point too. Because I do want to see the remake from 2004 or whatever. I've heard it's better.
Yeah, there's also apparently a series from 2007, and then I think a 2011 movie which has action scenes that are mocapped, directed by John Woo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. There are probably 10 different fucking Appleseed properties outside of this.
Well, I'm excited to see the world get fleshed out because it
seems like there's a lot of shit. It seems like there's a lot of shit here. The
potential is really, really there. I mean, like, it could be like almost like there could be like all kinds of Blade Runner-esque stories in there that would just be absolutely nuts to see inside that city. Yeah. And we just this little hour-long thing just does not show it.
Yeah,
because like one of the things that like Karen mentions in his monologue in the cemetery is like the crime in the city and things like that. There's all this stuff that's taken care of, but there's this like criminal underbelly that just gets kind of glossed over. And it's like, I want to see what that looks like, because everything we see looks so shiny and polished, and like the few interactions that we have with characters outside of the plot are just like, they all look like they're happy and having a good time. And I'm not seeing this like crime and dark underbelly that you're talking about, dude. And I want to explore that side of it just so that we can get a better idea of what the terrorist motivations are and what this world actually looks like. Or even some of the side stories from outside of Olympus. Oh, yeah. Like, these people, these humans that are in Olympus are coming from outside. We see they've, some of them have like their eyes are fucked up and they've been replaced by goggles, or they'll have like this one side of their face that'll be mechanized. Like, how does that happen? Like, what does life outside of that look like? Like, there's so much potential for that world that just does not get seen in this installment.
Yeah,
I agree. I have to force us ahead into rating this film. It is my
wonderful
obligation. Quick reminder, we have 5 categories by which we rate things. The first 4 are a 1 to 10 scale, and the final one is a 1 to 5 scale. So on our first 1 to 10 scale, we like the story of just this OVA of Appleseed. I don't want to bring anything else into it.
I'm going to jump out first here. I am going to go 5, simply because there's some really cool shit in here, but it is all very disjointed, and all it makes me want to do is get more context.
Yeah. I was going to go a little higher than that. I was going to go, I think, 6.5.
Yeah.
Because you're right, but also I like what they gave us.
Yeah, I do too, but it feels so incomplete.
Yeah, I'm going to sit right in the middle at like a 5.5, just because like there's so much missing stuff, but what's actually shown is interesting enough to make me want to dig in more.
Yeah, it's real cool. Yeah.
This one's interesting. Influence. Do you think that this anime had influence on the genre of cyberpunk, or? I mean, I think it did.
It had some, but as far as like being outside of the genre, or just being outside of like really kind of niche science fiction, like not really.
It kind of feels like a prototype to Ghost in the Shell.
I really think this had this undoubtedly, or at least the manga, had huge influence on anime. I don't know how much I can say it influence it had on cyberpunk, other than the existence of anime. Like,
cyberpunk owes a lot of its.
Yeah.
Yeah.
its cultural cachet to anime.
Yeah, this is a really tough needle to thread, I guess.
I would be tempted to stick it at 5 just
Yeah,
because
I was gonna stick it right in the middle at 5. Like it's got some influence, like, you know, clearly as mentioned at the top of the episode, you know, folks like Neil Blomkamp have used, like, you know, Bolero's design and that kind of thing, and, you know,
right there's evidence.
And
of it. In fact, that's gonna push me to 6.
The fact that they keep fucking remaking it, I'm gonna call it 6.
The fact that it's chappy, that
okay, no, definitely going to settle on a 6 then. Just the more I talk about it, the more I see like there is influence on that there.
Plus, that means I can write 666, which definitely
that's metal as fuck.
Yeah, and I think there is just a whole world of influence this thing has had that we just don't know.
That's in Japan or yeah. Prescience. As far as the dystopian / utopian world they're presenting,
well, as you know, I have 8 eyes and bunny ears. So.
Well, I mean, we are slowly creeping towards super colonized massive cities on top of wastelands that are dependent on some kind of either AI or computer algorithm to function.
Yeah, AI is getting put in charge of more and more things that it definitely has no business being put in charge of.
Oh, also, I say, whoosh it.
You do say that all the time.
So that's a pretty heavy influence.
I think I'm going to go 6 again.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 6.5.
Yeah, I like 6. I would go 6.5 if I wasn't certain that all of our interesting babies in test tube technologies weren't being shoved out the door into an incinerator by the current administration.
That's true. Also, the idea of people killing themselves because they had all the food and medicine they needed is a little far-fetched.
Seems like a dream.
If only we had that problem.
Style. That's our final 1 to 10 category.
Style is fucking solid. I'm gonna go a solid fucking 9. Ooh, because every, like, I don't know, it feels like just all the designs in this, it's to some extent it's kind of a dry run for Ghost in the Shell, but on the other hand it has cool mecha shit, so how do you beat that? You don't. I don't know if I can quite go to 9 though.
I think I would go. Yeah, I can't quite go to 9. I would say probably an 8.5, just because the style is definitely there, but some of it is a little dated, at least to me.
What are you fucking knocking Bolero's jacket?
No, not the jacket. That fucking robe. Like,
oh, okay, fair.
The jacket fucks. The robe, dude, the robe was cool. It could have been cooler.
The jacket fucks, slaps, and honks.
I'm going to go 8, even a step down, just because beyond Boleros and, like, I don't know, the big weapon in the end, whose name I'm blanking on.
The multi-peed cannon?
Yeah. Most of the people in the world just looked pretty much like normal cities, so... Okay. But it's there. I mean, Boleros carries most of that rating. He's a cool-looking cyborg man.
Yeah.
Our last rating is a 1 to 5 hand raisers rating, just like stars. How much do you like Appleseed on a scale of 1 to 5? I think I'm going to go 4.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 4. Like, for all the problems that this movie has, it is so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I had to rewatch it a million times, you know, in preparation for all of this, but like I had no problems going back to it every time I had to. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4.5 for that, and also the fact that this movie has infected my brain deeply.
Yeah, you got
without me even realizing it.
Nostalgia bias, which is fair.
Yeah,
I would probably have the same thing from Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, this is one of like 3 fucking anime VHSs that I purchased, you know,
right,
back in the early 1990s. So,
The good old days that probably weren't as
Yeah.
good as we remember them. All
Hey,
right.
would you like to hear a very quick version of what this was released against in the U.S.?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah,
very
sure.
quick.
Okay, it'll be easy because it's only coming out like 2 weeks before They Live.
Oh, shit. Nice.
Yeah. Number one at the box office this week was Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. Number 2, The Accused. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Number 3, Alien Nation. Skimming down a little bit. Number 7, Mystic Pizza. Number 8, Fish Called Wanda.
It's basically the same list as They Live.
Almost. Number 12, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, hanging on from like June or something. Number 13, Die Hard in its 8th week. 16, Last Temptation of Christ. And number 17, Tapeheads, which is a very fun movie that I haven't seen for 35 years, so it's probably now very problematic.
So are you saying this got a theatrical release, or is that just what was out that week?
This is when it was, quote, released in the U.S.
Okay.
Right.
Whatever that means in terms of 1988 anime.
Very specialty locally owned video stores, probably.
Probably. It came out in January in Japan. I can see no box office data from this, so
All right.
like it apparently, at the very least, it does not appear in the top 18 for that week.
All right. Well, there we go, Appleseed. Izzy, why don't you plug your pluggables?
All right. So I am all over the internet. You can find me on Bluesky. That's where I do a lot of my posting. Either type in Isabelle Chelsea Wolf or Spooky Punk Issy, where the O's are zeros. You can actually search that Spooky Punk Issy on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Lemonade and just any social. That's going to be the thing that I use for most of it. You can find my band Thorn in My Side on Bandcamp at whoisthorninmyside.bandcamp.com. I also run the Thorn in My Side Facebook page. It is all one word. And I'm not as good at running that Facebook page as I am running my own, just because I have a million different things that I do all the time. But whenever we announce shows or have new music coming out, that's where we post the links first, and then I put them on my on all of my personals. So those are the easiest ways to get hold of me there. I'm also in the Astronomica Discord. I lurk in there mostly. I do not know how to use Discord, so that's. But I am there. You can find me there.
It took me quite a while to move from lurking to posting, so don't feel bad.
So next week we are going to be covering Ben Affleck's
Paycheck 2003, directed by John Woo, based on a short story by Philip K. Dick.
Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
All right, well, that's what we're ending the show. Josh, do you have a quote to send us out on?
Oh, I certainly do. Don't even think about it. Move a muscle and I'll blow your fucking head clean off.
Beautiful. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Not
you,
a problem.
Izzy.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go.
Trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Hype the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.
Oh, and I actually got one more quote to end off on if you want to edit it in. If not,
Yes, please do.
Great.
it really gets on my tits that she wouldn't see us face to face.
I like that one better, actually.
And a cheap hologram at that.